Hello everyone, it's Heather, or Zombie Chick 66, and today I decided to go more in-depth on something I had brought up earlier, the relationship between Celestia and Luna, the particular focus on Celestia's side. What we know from this show is that 1,000 years ago, Luna grew upset that while ponies frolicked in the day, they did not fully enjoy her night, and she grew resentful and envious because of this. And though Celestia tried to reason with her, she soon became Nightmare Moon, and brought war upon the day. Reluctantly, Celestia used the elements of harmony to imprison her in the moon, and 1,000 years later Nightmare Moon broke free, threatened eternal night again, but was ultimately defeated and reformed. From the reunion between the two sisters, it looks very heartfelt. Luna was so willing to accept friendship, and Celestia was so quick to forgive, albeit it has been 1,000 years. From then on, the two sisters seem to have quite a trusting relationship, ruling together, at least from what we see. I want to start my analysis of their relationship from the beginning, when Luna began to grow envious. But first off, I want to say that the reason I feel I can interpret their relationship so well is because I've been in their footsteps before. I have sisters, two to be exact, one older than me and one younger, so I have experience on both sides of the story. I know what it feels like to be overshadowed and unappreciated, like you're alone with little to comfort you. I also know what it's like to have a sibling spiteful because you're doing very well, being unsure of how to handle it and trying to remain humble. I understand why Luna was distraught. Making something that you are passionate about and having others unable or unwilling to see it is a disappointment most siblings and even artists experience. And though we have no way of determining just how old either sister really is, it is appropriate to assume that Luna was of a more adolescent mindset, with Celestia not far off. Being at that disposition, Luna would be uncertain of what to do about her own emotions. She would either seek out someone for help or bottle it up. If it were the latter option she chose, the sudden outrage of Nightmare Moon was somewhat inevitable. But had she gone with the first, she would have a difficult time finding someone who could relate to her situation. So the next best option would be someone close to her, and despite her envy of, she loved and trusted more than anyone, her older sister, Celestia. Sadly, I have to say, in either case, Celestia shared in the blame of Nightmare Moon's birth. Had Luna gone to her for help, Celestia either laughed off the dilemma as petty or honestly tried to comfort his sister, but ultimately failed. If Luna had decided to pent up her distress, Celestia should have noticed the change in her behavior. A sibling is someone who's been around for most of your life. If she was utterly oblivious to a shift in Luna's demeanor, then she obviously paid little attention to her sister whatsoever, or was too distracted by the praise she no doubt received from her subjects. Though an alternate case would be that perhaps Celestia did take notice but did nothing or little to console her sister, in which case Nightmare Moon's crimes are further weighted on her shoulders. In every outcome, Celestia will have known this and have lived with it for 1,000 years. Easy to see why Celestia was so forgiving at the reunion now, isn't it? Granting Luna her freedom no doubt erased some of her guilt, and perhaps she seized the opportunity to rebuild their relationship from the ground up. Though they are not starting a fresh slate. The past may be the past, but it is all Luna really knows. With all that baggage and trying to adapt to a new age, there are still far more hardships for Luna than Celestia has to endure. And Celestia knows this as well, and in her mind there is no doubt she believes she is solely to blame. And who's to say she isn't? The whole affair could reasonably be accounted for due to Celestia's inability to sympathize with her sister. It would take a good deal of time for their familiar relationship to be revived and content. You may think to yourself, with 1,000 years apart from her sister, Celestia has no doubt seen the error of her ways and is prepared to correct her mistakes. I don't think so. If Celestia had admitted to herself that she was a factor in Nightmare Moon's existence, then she would try to preserve the true side of her sister in history, and she would have not allowed a certain holiday to exist. One that antagonized Luna's dark side, one that is filled with candy, costume stories, and fear. Nightmare Night. This holiday makes me believe that Celestia went through a phase of denial, trying to convince herself she was free of accountability, and that Luna's punishment and defacement was just. How long this lasted is uncertain. It could have been centuries, long enough for the holiday to become favored and traditional. and by that time, there was no getting rid of it. Okay, perhaps I'm being a bit hard on Celestia, but I feel like her incompetence should not go unnoticed. She's constantly seen as someone who's wise and powerful, like a Gandalf or a Dumbledore character. It's hard to see of her as weak or wrong. We need to see that Celestia isn't just a princess or an alicorn. Above all, she is a pony.